Star Wars knows that you're anxious about the future. It's why every major Star Wars story wrestles with the question of how to respond to worry, doubt, anxiety, and fears about tomorrow,
Han. Leia!
Or what's around the next corner. George Lucas knew all about the future problem with his studies of mythology and history. The myth of Oedipus Rex, the Greek fates, yes, the ones from the animated Hercules, Ragnarok and preparation for apocalypse, the Epic of Gilgamesh, whose obsession with conquering death took hold after the loss of a loved one, and he vowed it would never happen again. Sound familiar? Human beings fear the future. If you're science-minded, it's evidence of evolution and natural selection. Unlike most animals, human beings' superpower for foresight and cause and effect is what allows us to make preparations and imagine our own futures. Fear and anxiety keep us alive. Viewed through a more spiritual lens, our fear of the future is evidence of a God-shaped hole in our hearts. And in the absence of certainty about our reason for being and what comes after death, we become self-obsessed and overly concerned with preserving our lives, sometimes at any cost. Fear of the future is the foundation for efforts to build utopia, heaven on earth, a perfect world, a place that doesn't exist. Utopian projects can be as simple as a commune or cult, or as consequential as empire building and mass genocide. Star Wars wants to help you let go. So why should we listen? To answer that question, I'm going to examine a key philosophical insight from the Greek and Roman Stoics, namely the idea that you should focus your energies on areas where you have some degree of control, rather than those outside of your influence. I'm also going to be looking at the words of C.S. Lewis, who wrote, "Nearly all vices are rooted in the future." By the way, this is Geeky Stoics, a channel all about the practical life lessons to be found in the greatest stories of our time. Subscribe and join the community at geekystoics.com. Now, I asked you, should we listen to Star Wars when it tells us to dwell less on the future? Let's turn to the Phantom Menace.
Don't center on your anxieties, Obi-Wan. Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs.
But Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future.
But not at the expense of the moment.
In this scene, is Qui-Gon Jinn suggesting that a Jedi shouldn't be aware of or prepared for the future? No. He's more specific than that, but not at the expense of the moment, he says, implying a necessity to do both. We don't look back kindly on people in history who turned a blind eye to what was coming around the corner. We call those people arrogant, and their actions ones of hubris, such as the Jedi Order in the prequel trilogy, who didn't have the wherewithal to sense a Sith Lord and a threat to their order right under their nose. We should all be aware, be informed, but neglect of the present in favor of obsessing over the future is inexcusable. And because the future is both clouded and difficult to see, Star Wars shifts importance towards our actions in the present. Agents of the Dark Side, however, emphasize the fear of the heroes and all of their concerns that they might have about the future.
Sister. So, you have a twin sister.
They want them to try and seize control, and in so doing, give up a piece of themselves. The author C.S. Lewis, best known for the Chronicles of Narnia, offered an answer for why this happens in his legendary book, The Screwtape Letters, which chronicles two of Satan's demons writing to one another about how to corrupt the souls of human beings and turn them against God. In letter 6 of Screwtape Letters, the demon, known as Screwtape, writes, "We want him, the human, to be in the maximum uncertainty, so that his mind will be filled with contradictory pictures of the future, every one of which arouses hope or fear. There is nothing like suspense and anxiety for barricading a human's mind against the enemy, being God. He wants men to be concerned with what they do. Our business is to keep them thinking about what will happen to them. Something about God, or peace itself, is found in the present moment, according to C.S. Lewis and George Lucas. Lewis goes on to say that the human being tries to run away from God and the idea of "thy will be done" by fixating on future possibilities. Taking matters into our own hands gives us the feeling of agency, responsibility, and power to affect outcomes, and people like that. It's why Luke leaves his training on Dagobah in The Empire Strikes Back after having one dark vision of Han and Leia being harmed by Darth Vader. Luke can't just do nothing.
Patience. And sacrifice Han and Leia.
And so he springs into action before he's ready, changes nothing about the situation, and loses a hand in the process. The natural human desire for control is the source of our anxiety.
You're not all powerful.
Well, I should be. Someday I will be.
It's within us, in the words of Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and emperor of Rome, who wrote in Meditations, "Today I escaped my anxiety. I discarded it because it was inside me." The desire for control produces inner suffering, and at worst it produces incredible evil. The future vision gives us authority in the present to take certain actions, often for that slippery concept of the greater good. Why else would a band of environmental doomers deface Stonehenge and classic works of art across the world?
What is worth more, art or life?
Unless they truly believed that human life was doomed to extinction. That false certainty grants you license to do anything and treat nothing as sacred, including human life. Think about Anakin Skywalker's fall. He didn't just murder countless innocents for the knowledge to conquer death and save Padme from a nightmare that he had. He was also motivated by a distrust of the Jedi Order and Republic. He wanted the empire that Palpatine was promising, where there'd be peace and justice. But of course, to get there, a violent purge would have to take place. Peace through murder, justice through lawlessness. The sad truth is that we all seek justifications for our actions, both in the present and future. But at least in the present, the conditions are known and better understood. When dealing with the future, you're in the realm of speculation. It creates more extreme actions because so much is unknown. Another observation made by C.S. Lewis in the Screwtape Letters is that all human vices are future-focused. Is that true? Consider sexual sin or drinking. Both are actually rooted in a future view. The drink isn't the sin, it's the desire for drunkenness. Lust is of course a sin on its own, but the human being is motivated by a search for the ending, or the climax of the sexual act, the part that feels good. It's the ending. By that time, the deed is done. A cycle of shame begins, and you realize that the future fooled you yet again. Lewis says, "Gratitude looks to the past and love to the present. Fear, greed, lust, and ambition all look ahead. Do not think lust an exception. When the present pleasure arrives, the sin which alone interested us is already over." The Darksiders of Star Wars understand all of this very clearly. It's what allows them to get their claws into characters like Anakin, and it's what tempts heroes like Ahsoka. We want more control over our lives. I guess I would point you to the end of Ahsoka Season 1 as an example of where someone in Star Wars gets it right, because both Anakin and Luke Skywalker fell short in their key trials in Episode 3 and in Episode 5. At the end of the series, Ahsoka is stranded on Peridia, with Thrawn taking off to a galaxy far, far away and leaving Ahsoka and Sabine behind. They're shipwrecked or marooned. Sabine is not too happy about this, and she shares that with Ahsoka. And it's reasonable. There are threats out there to their friends, and they've lost control of their situation and all the potential outcomes. But Ahsoka just smiles softly and says,
"Ezra's where he needs to be. And so are we."
That's right. Right here, in the moment, aware, listening, responding with grace and thought and patience, letting the Force do its work. You've got things on your plate, things in the future that have you stressed out. Well, fair enough. Me too. But don't lose sight of how your actions in the present matter and impact those you love most. If your visions of the future have you treating people badly in the present, something is wrong there. Open your eyes to it. You'll be shocked at how freeing it is in the end. Let go wherever you can stomach it. and maybe even let go where you can't comprehend it. Hey, thanks for watching Geeky Stoics. Please let us know what you thought about this video essay. We'd love your input on the future problem and whether or not it's dangerous to be overly focused on the future. Leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to live better, mythically.